What up, everybody? Welcome to the IAG Thursday thing. This thing we do every Thursday. Whether we're at the track, we're at home. We figure it out one way or another. We're doing a damn podcast. We've been pretty good about it. I'm kind of proud of us. We're joined this week again, thankfully, because we've missed him. Warranty's back. Warranty, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, Dewey, I've had a good week. I've had a bad week. I've had both, but it's good to be back. And we will get into it, so I won't spoil it now. But hello again.
Oh, dude, I'm super psyched. The fruits of the podcast we did a while ago of you ordering stuff finally is coming together, and I'm excited. We're also joined by executive producer Jordan. How you doing, sir?
Good. Just coming, down from a fun and bad weekend at the same time, I guess.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit too. Dolly's got some new marks, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Taps. Yeah, little love tap happens. You'll have that on those big jobs. And then we also got to thank Randy for putting together the thumbnail. He actually did a pretty funny one this week. He took 2 pictures and put them together, but what I wanted, there's no way we could make it work, and he made something work for it. So it looks pretty good. It's funny. I'm happy with it. I don't know if you guys are, but I'm happy with it. And so thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy. Shout outs to Randy. Shout outs to EPJ.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So yeah, let's kind of start from the top. We had Road Atlanta this last weekend. If you listen to the last podcast, we recorded it from Road Atlanta before we actually went out and raced. So what I want to do before we go any further is kind of recap what happened at the track, what the situation was, how it all ended, how things worked out. Just because it's its own story all in itself. So as the story ended, we were at the track. We all know how hard and awful it was to get there. And, the deer that opened the hood pins and all sorts of stuff. So if you haven't listened to any of that, I'd recommend go listen to our last episode. And it'll catch you up on that story. But we're at Road Atlanta. I haven't been there in a while. I think last time I was there, Warranty was with me too. Were you not, Warranty?
I think so. It would have been
19.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, it was 19. It's pre-COVID.
Oh man, yeah. Different time, but same car.
First year of buggy.
Different color.
Yep, it was many colors then.
Mm-hmm.
So
Pickle Boogie.
That was first year buggy. We were still trying to figure a lot of stuff out. Still on a 2-liter. Aero was even more rudimentary than it is now. We're on a lot lesser tire than what there is now. Suspension still wasn't figured out. We were still learning about, tuning and everything else. But, the car wasn't slow. She was cooking down the straights, let me tell you. Pickle Boogie was slippery. It was one of its biggest advantages is it really didn't have much drag. It would scoot down the straights pretty well. That was the big advantage to Pickle Boogie. Either way, last time we were there, we ran it was like a 33-1 or something along those lines, because we ended up getting third at that event. We had 2 sessions, and then on the second session, the engine blew. It was an ugly situation. Those were back in the days, different engine manufacturers, all sorts of stuff. But the engine shit, and we all had a good cry. Again, those were different times. Sally McDulty, who was with IAG at the time, ended up getting around us, getting the all-wheel drive record at a high 32. And then there was a 31 and some change something. There was a Mustang that I still to this day do not believe was legal for the class, but was also running in the class and ended up winning it. There's a whole lot of drama with that. And, I just don't want to relive that. But Sally had been holding the all-wheel drive record at this point, and I nothing against Sally, but that was a long time ago and a lot has changed. And I was going to be damned if we didn't kick that thing off the trailer and beat that record. So we had a lot of new stuff in this car. If you haven't heard, we have a sequential gear set now. We fixed the bouncing in the rear. We've got a Cusco front diff. We've got new EBC front brake kit. And I had not put the window rain guards on yet, but we ended up doing that for day 2 and never got a chance to run them. We changed a bunch of stuff on the dash, and we're on the new Vetour P1 Tempesta Murder Boy tires. So we had every advantage. So we went out session 1, and I was still trying to figure this car out. Graham still needed some stuff for tuning. Long story short, the night before, well, the date, it actually would have been the day. It would have been 2 days before. A lot of stuff blurred together there. Just before we loaded the car on the trailer, and I'm sure if you listen to the last podcast, you'll hear about it. I ended up kind of ripping the shifter out of the tunnel.
Oh no.
Yeah. So we had to reinforce that and remount it and everything. But what ended up happening, and we didn't realize, is that when we remounted it, the calibration for where it was changed. So when I went to pull the shifter, it ended up essentially double shifting. It thought that I was doing 2 shifts. So it was holding the cut longer than it should. So I'd be going down the straight, I'd pull the gear and it'd go in fine, but I'd be going like, wah, and I'd pull it and go boom, wah, boom, wah. So there's this huge delay between gears. It was like more than if I was just running an H pattern. Okay. So that delay was there, but the car felt fine. So I ran the session so I could get some data for us. Upshifts work great. Brakes work great. Other than some pretty gnarly understeering through 6, the suspension was really solid. We've got some theories on what happened there. And we straight off the trailer ran like a bottom 31. Like it was nothing to brag about. The car, I'm not going to lie, felt a little doggy leaving corners. But I was also kind of driving it a little doggy, and, I wasn't actively trying to keep it on boil because I just wanted to, get the data for Graham and kind of figure ourselves out. It was our first session. I haven't been to Road Atlanta in a really long time. That track is sketchy. If anybody knows anything about Road Atlanta, that track is so sketchy, man. Even in the
Especially
drive,
coming down the hill.
Yeah.
Into turn 12.
Turn 12 is bad.
Straight.
I didn't have a problem with 12.
You
It was
weren't
the
going
S's that
fast
scared me the
enough
most.
either.
Yeah, why?
True.
PJ, because you were driving a first gen BRZ. Let's
True.
be real.
True.
Like,
True.
NA first gen BRZ, like, you don't got anything to worry about. You're going to be totally matted from 10B all the way to maybe a slight break into 1.
Yep.
The Sunday Cup cars, I bet you they were matted from 10B all the way to
Probably.
5.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, I don't think they
Yeah.
even looked at the brakes going into 1.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like so much fun.
God, it'd be a riot. Drafting down the straight, I bet you was incredible. So,
So it's a sketchy track.
sketchy, boy. Actually, we got Dylan here. I'm gonna bring Dylan on too. Invite to speak.
Yeah, get Dylan on the phone.
Yeah. What's up, D?
Yo, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you sound good.
Yep.
Good
Yeah.
enough,
Okay,
at
cool.
least. So I'm gonna continue my story, but feel free to intervene whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, we go through session 1. Car feels good. The brakes, oh my God. You don't know what you were missing until you have proper brakes. I'm not trying to say anything against AP Racing or anything like that, because this kit was old and ancient and shitty. Okay. And this was old hardware. And I'm pretty sure this kit was originally designed like 2004. Okay, so it's old. But this new EBC kit is absolutely incredible. The brakes have never felt better. You smack the middle pedal in this car, it gives you that firm response you always wish you had. And there's no way that doesn't have something to do with the caliper itself, because the new caliper is like a really beautiful one-piece unit. So it's really nice. It's a ton lighter than our old AP2. Just super cool. Other than that, we went out, like I said, we ran like a bottom 31, got the all-wheel drive record, so I couldn't complain. Came in with a bunch of data. Like I said, what was happening was when we repositioned the shifter, we were getting like that double shift cut. So Graham messed around with that a little bit. Well, Graham and Dylan both messed around with that a little bit and got that sorted. And we went out for session 2. Session 2 was our best shot. The weather was still good. Sun really hadn't came out and baked it yet. Drifters hadn't destroyed shit yet. The schedule was freakishly condensed. Okay. Usually at a Gridlife event, you've got one run in the morning. Okay. Then another one is usually like 11 or so. And then another one at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon or something like that. Maybe you might even get 4 and have one that's like 4 or 5 o'clock. Okay. But that's usually how it's done when at this event, because Formula Drift needed the track at night. All 3 of the runs were done before like 1 o'clock. Like we were done by like 12:30.
It was like 12:30 or something like that. We were done. Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was fast paced enough that luckily I had Ethan with us to like kind of do fuel, like a refill. We'd go over the car, nut and bolt it. But it was fast enough where by the time both of us were done with everything, we were already going back out to the hot pit to go back out.
Yeah. Like I had enough time to get out of the car, cool off a little bit, get my bearings as a driver, and then look at Fire Labs. Oh, the new Fire Labs unit works really good too. We've got their new like physical unit from Fire Labs that just uploads on its own. And it's awesome. Like you don't have to touch anything. It just automatically throws it up to the cloud into their stuff. So you get out, wait a couple minutes, and you just open up Fire Labs and go over your data. It's sick. You don't have to upload shit. It's so good. Can't recommend that enough. So either way, yeah, the guys nut and bolt this thing, throw fuel back in it, and we head back out with the changes. We didn't really have a whole lot of time or any room to really think. Dylan was trying to get more of a handle on these tires because it's different than what we've been running. We've been running RE71 RSs. Now we're on these new Vitours, and they like different pressures and stuff. I know people are asking me a lot of what my thoughts are on them, and they're living up to the hype. I can tell you that they're crazy grippy. They do take a little bit more to get warm than the RE71 RSs. So you got to have a really, really hard warm up lap. But the thing I like about them the most, even though I think they have more maximum grip than the RE71 RS, is if I let them cool down. So if I take a cool down lap, they immediately come back and I can get another hard lap out of it. So I can easily get 3 laps. I'll get 2 really good laps, do a cool down lap, and then do a 3rd lap. And that's incredible for Boogie. Boogie just eats tires.
Valuable. Yeah.
So, either way, really digging these Vitours. We actually got a brand new set for Midwest Fest now. So
Sponsored. Let's talk about that. You got sponsored a set of tires. You are here.
Yeah, they hooked us up with a set. I'm really excited about it. I think they want a little better data out of us because our first event we didn't have power steering. And Road Atlanta, I gotta be real, isn't going to give you a ton of data on tires, and we were trying to figure out so much other shit. Gingerman is really going to give you some data on tires real damn fast. So we're pretty stoked. We've got a brand new set of those. We're going to play around with them. That's the first time I've ever gotten a set of tires for Boogie like that we didn't pay completely out of pocket for. So that's pretty incredible. Arthur's asking, are you running them for the full season? I don't have any sort of like written Vatour sponsorship thing yet. We may run some stickers and whatever to start with, but it's not like we're guaranteed sponsorship from them. I'm not saying we aren't open to it, and I have a feeling the data we get from Midwest Fest is going to say a lot left or right on that. But we're definitely not complaining about them. They're pretty solid. So I'm not complaining. Dylan's been having a little left or right on trying to get tire pressures figured out with these things because they react drastically different than the RE71 RS. We're getting there. It's just data and figuring it out. And every session we went out, it got better and better. So I think Midwest Fest will probably give them more of a handle on this.
All right. So in general, do they like higher pressures or lower pressures than the RS?
It's hard to tell because I've gotten to the point where I'm now logging them. Like I have this little journal I bought so I can log tire pressures, cold and then hot when he comes in, and then I have a tire barometer with me so I can check temperatures as well. So I've been trying to get him down to that 32 hot mark when he goes out, and gets him up to temp. Surprisingly, it's more aggressive. Like the RE71 RS it's pretty similar front to rear. Rear's always starting a little bit higher because they don't get as hot. But the Vatours are a little bit more aggressive from front to rear as far as getting temperature in them and pressures coming up. I'm having to start a lot lower in the front than I thought I would. But we're getting there. Like I had him to the 32 to 33 PSI range by the time he came in off a lap at Red Orlando.
Now, did you run the RS tires on the new brake kit? Could that have an impact?
We haven't had anything on the car other than these Vatours.
Okay. I
Yep.
wonder if that's part of it, just how the front brakes shed heat into the front wheels.
Maybe, but I got to tell you what, it's been a long time coming. It has been a very, very long time coming on getting a new brake kit. So,
Okay.
definitely not sad about that.
All right, so tires are good, and Gingerman's going to be the proving ground. Yeah,
For the
heard that
tires,
before.
yeah.
Nice.
I think Gingerman's really going to be the proving ground for the tires.
Okay.
We also
So-
other changes real quick while we're on that. We did a Cusco RS front diff. We did a one-way Cusco RS front diff in it versus the OEM helical style diff. Biggest reason we did that is Boogie lifts its front tire over curbing a lot. And when you do that with a helical style front diff, it goes open. And it really doesn't matter what brand you get, other than supposedly Wave Track, that does not make a diff for us. Helical style front diffs, when you lift a wheel, they go open. It just kind of is what it is. And since we're bouncing track curbing a lot, it happens a lot. And what would happen is when that would happen, that would go open and it wouldn't, all the power would go out that way. So you would end up if DCCD was locked, it wasn't a big deal. But, if you're going open, if you're bouncing a curb, maybe you're off throttle and DCCD's chilling out a little bit, a lot of power can go out there. It really make wonky situations with power. And you would really see it on turn 3 because unless you really got a lot of turn 3 at Road Atlanta, unless you've got a lot of confidence built up, which we really didn't yet at this point, you're not going over turn 3 full throttle. You're probably going 3/4 throttle or something like that, but not totally wide open. And if any place would have showed its ass, it's when you pick up your tires at the top of the hill at turn 3 when you bounce that curbing. And stable, absolutely stable. There's a whole lot of debate, not only here in the shop, but between people we were asking and all sorts of stuff on what we wanted to do with the preload springs too. We ended up going with no preload springs whatsoever. We took all the preload springs out, so there is no preload spring. It's a one-way diff, so it reacts really quick. But when you get off, there is no preload whatsoever. It's open. So this diff only works in one direction. And you really notice that transition. That was something I was really surprised about. And it forces you to try to be smoother on the gas to make sure you're on the gas instead of kind of going on off, bouncing between the two. It forces you to be a
Yeah.
little smoother. But if you are smoother, you're rewarded with it. I think that was some of our issues in turn 6 was me learning that. And some of it was we've got some aero improvements we want to make and just small shit that we were figuring out.
Is
Um,
that one-way front diff with no preload make the front end under coasting feel more like a rear-wheel drive car? Just
very
nothing's
much.
connected to the front? Nice.
Yep. And so when you're
Okay.
off the throttle, it rotates better. That actually weirded me out a little bit because I'd bounce off the throttle going into the S's, like a moron. So I'd come around turn 4 going into the S's, and the car would rotate a lot harder than I was expecting. It would try to come around really quick. What I learned real quick is just don't bounce completely off the throttle. Just ease off the throttle a little bit. And the car was perfectly
Yeah.
stable and great, and you kept a ton of grip. But if you just hop off the throttle, that thing will try to come around on you, which is
I learned
great
that.
for tighter corners.
So it's a no-wheel drive car in the biggest way
Well, it's
when you're
it's
throttle.
it's more like rear wheel drive, but yeah.
Yeah, because you have the gnarly rear diff, right? So it's gonna do
Yes.
some decent stuff. Yeah.
You're
Okay.
and DCCD is fairly locked and it's doing what it needs to as long as I'm, not being too funky. But yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So it's cool. And I think stuff like, let's say turn 1 Gingerman, turning in for turn 2, turn 5, the end of it's going to be really helpful. 11, like there's so many spots on Gingerman. I think that's going to be super helpful. That getting Boogie to rotate at times could be a real pain in the ass.
Mm. And
So
it settles down right away on throttle because you've got diffs, you've got DCCD, you've got everything you need, right?
yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah. I'm really psyched about it. But either way, we're going into session 2 here. All right.
Yep.
Graham gets stuff sorted out. This was going to be our best session. Little did we know the sun was going to come out later and tomorrow it was going to rain all day. So we go out and trans feels great. It's unreal how good this transmission feels. And I'm starting to understand now, because I'm not really scared of it and I understand how this is all going to work, that I no longer really have a penalty for going into a corner a gear lower than I normally would. So back when I was on an H pattern shifter, there are some corners where it just made more sense to like be in a gear higher than maybe you think you should be than would be optimal, because A, it's not worth the risk of missing a shift, or B, the time to take that shift could actually cost you more time. With the sequential, you don't have that. I'm telling you, it completely rewires, or you need to completely rewire your brain as to how you approach what gear you're in. You can literally drive the damn thing like a video game, and it's different and it's fun. Oh my God, is it fun? I haven't had that much fun driving Boogie, and I don't know when. It wasn't, and I am terrified of Road Atlanta, and I was having a great time driving that car.
Wow. Yeah. That's a difference from the silver car
If
when
people want to remember way back to when I used to run in street with a silver car with no aero. The last year I ran that car was 2018. I had to call my wife. I was crying. Like I almost binned it in 12 and was having a hard time coming to terms with it. And I had to get her to calm me down. It was bad.
Yep. I remember that. That was rough.
Thankfully, we ended up getting the car sorted out, and I still own Spaz's penis due to it, but poor Spaz.
Egos, man.
He
Yeah,
blew
he
his
just
damn
beat
engine
somebody in
up.
2018,
Literally
just forever.
first lap out, blew his engine up.
Ah, poor guy. That sucks. Like he
He-
drives an Evo,
yeah.
and that's bad enough, but
Yeah.
that just sucks, man.
It blew up first lap out this last weekend.
Yeah.
You hate
First-
to see it. That's the Subaru behavior. Well, it used to be Subaru behavior.
Yeah.
We can't let Mitsubishi sink to that level. Like,
I think some of the problem is the aftermarket just kind of ran away from it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's been discontinued for how many years now?
Many.
This is why losing the STI is so scary. It's that life will get a little bit harder every year.
It will, as long as we have there's the amount of STIs and WRXs and things with EJ25s out there compared to the amount of things with 4G63s are not even it's on a completely different scale.
No, you're right. You're right. That's the reassurance. Yeah, you've brought that up before too.
Yep. So I don't see
So,
us slowing down anytime soon in Subarus. So either way,
so all right,
we're
session two. You got your
session
stuff
two, we
sorted.
go out
What
and
happened?
I'm rewiring my brain for this, and I'm starting to try some things, go into corners at a gear lower than I normally would, and it's starting to work out. Right out of the gate, first lap, I knock a full second off, and it feels awesome. Okay, we're in second place at this point behind Ryan Matthews, who is an absolute animal, and the guy is notorious for going out and laying down just absolute heater lap times right out of the gate, and then everybody's left trying to figure out how to catch him. Um, so either way, we lay down this absolute badass, or well, not badass, a competent lap time. We knock a second off, but the car, I got to be real, still feels slower than it should be. But the data is still showing we're doing 164 down the straights. So
Wow.
we're not doing it due to power. I think we're doing it due to the fact that the shifts are not falling off. Okay. So there's no downtime between shifts. So it's just in power all the time. So we're making up a ton of time with that. But we were definitely, the car felt lazier than it probably should have. Okay. So either
Okay.
way, we go through the first lap, lay a decent time down, and the tires are alive, everything's feeling good. I'm starting to feel a little spicy. Go for the second lap. I'm putting something together. Okay, this is the first time I actually start going, okay, I feel like I'm getting this car right. I do everything I can to get 6 correct. I do a little bit of trail braking to get the car to nose in a little better. Um, the nice thing too is ever since, oh man, when did that really start? We're not midway through 23. We started getting wheel hop in the rear under acceleration. We've been fighting
Yeah,
this for a
Laguna.
very long time. Got to tell a little story on this real fast. Have to do it. We've been working with Mike Kojima, a hero of mine, trying to figure out what we can do to get this thing sorted out. He's been helping us with like rear end geometry, and we all kind of like were staring at stuff, and we came to the realization that we think the rear trailing arm was maybe not the right one the entire time I've owned this car.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was really short. And so we were looking at the angle everything was sitting at, and even in some situations, the axle itself would hit our subframe because it was sitting significantly further forward than it should. So we hit up TSS Fab. We're like, hey, you have extended trailing arms. Is there a way we could get a set of those? And he's like, well, I don't really have any technically made whatsoever, right now, but I could probably get them in a few weeks. And we're like, shit, that ain't going to work. So we were looking at like different options, like adjustable Cuscos and stuff like that. But I got to be real, I was really worried we could get them out enough to really work. And the last thing you want to do is a cheapy adjustable thing that's sitting way out at the edge of its adjustment. We were worried it was going to break and whatever. And the TSS Fab ones are beefy. So we were pretty stoked about those. And then William from TSS Fab hits me up. He's like, we got them done. They're on the way. And we're like, what
Oh
the
my
fuck?
God.
He's like, yeah, I got them done. We'll figure it out later. Just, it's the right answer, and they're on the way. So he slapped a set of these together for us. I cannot thank him enough. Their product is kick ass, by the way. But the trailing arms got to us. They were raw. So we wanted to do something with them. So we actually ran them through the same powder coat line that we put our steps through for the Broncos. So it's got that same, yeah. So it looks nice, and it's protected and everything. So it's going to look nice. That's one of the nice things working at IAG. We can do stuff like that. So they look great right now. Okay. Put those on there, and immediately you can tell that geometry is in better shape. I mean, Dylan could probably speak more to that than even me, but it was like night and day.
Yeah, so I got those arms from them. And I'm, before I even put it together, I'm like holding it up to the arms we had in the car. And I'm like, man, these are significantly longer. And we kind of, talking to Mike, having the ability to talk to Mike is awesome in one, but being able to talk to him and kind of learn from him is, I mean, I never thought I would be able to, but besides the point, it's like you start looking at all this suspension geometry a lot different than I always have. You kind of look at ride height and kind of the way that things are working as individuals, but then you have to look at everything as a combined assembly moving together. And so what was happening was the old arms were short, so that increased the angle of what the arms are sitting at, which is huge because you want them as close to 0 degrees at resting point as possible. So getting them down to that in between like 0 and 2 degree angle was like I tried a whole bunch of different stuff and it wasn't working. And so when I put these on, it moved the whole assembly back. The lateral arms were now more symmetrical, and the whole knuckle assembly had moved back enough that I was like, that I guarantee you that was 100% the answer.
The shock itself is like straight up and down now.
It's not straight up and down, but
it's closer. It was really canted before.
It was, yeah, it's that much better of an angle. And so sometimes, like I came into this project with Dewey, like
that's a great pick.
There was a lot of things that I didn't know, and over the past few years I've learned. And so now you can't, the part was already on the car. There's no way for me to be like, oh, those are wrong, So getting these new arms on there, things are just a lot better. Everything's moved back. I mean, you can look at the wheel and the wheel well itself, and it's sitting a lot more centered than it was. So, I mean, Dewey didn't have any wheel hop at Road Atlanta where we thought we might with these new arms, and I'm pretty stoked. They're pretty rugged. They're nice and they're adjustable. So if for any reason we need to go back a little bit further or come in a little bit, I have that ability to do that.
So, like, leaving turn 7, so that's the last corner onto the straightaway. That's a second gear corner in this new Trans. Which would be like, that'd be a solid third gear corner, like the bottom of third in the old Trans. Okay, so it's a second gear corner in this Trans. And that would be like a prime situation where this thing was going to hop like hell. So what I would end up having to do is kind of wait till I'd apex the cornerways and get the car fairly straightened out before I nailed it. And honestly, that takes away the whole advantage of having all-wheel drive, where we need to get that dig as early as humanly possible. We got it back now. To the point where like I now have to readjust my brain to get on the gas earlier. No hopping, none.
Fantastic.
It feels better than it ever has, which is really saying something, because the best this car has ever felt at any point was still Mid-Ohio in 23. And we made some suspension changes thinking we were helping it back in the day, and we may have just made our issues worse. But I think all those changes now are we're taking advantage of all of those changes now too. The car feels so good, it's stupid.
Yeah, and anybody that's been listening for a long time, or anybody that's been around, kind of what we're doing, warranty, Jordan, you guys there, since 2023 when the fire took place, and then just coming out of that season rebuilding, we've constantly been on our heels trying to get the car sorted.
Yep.
We got all this new stuff in it. Okay, is this stuff implemented? No. Okay, let's work around that. Is ABS working? I mean, this is a pretty funny, laughable, is there's a G sensor or yaw sensor for the ABS module that
I forgot about this.
Up until this race has never been facing the right direction. We've had it upside down, facing backwards, right side up. But there's so much misinformation out there that like I finally found a write-up that's like, hey, it actually sits just like this. And I'm like, cool. So right before Atlanta, we figured that out. So it's same thing with the suspension stuff. Like, I set the coilovers up the most correct way where you measure droop and bump stop and you try to get spring in the middle of it and all this crazy stuff and you're adjusting compression and changing the nitrogen fill on the reservoirs and all this stuff. And so it's been constantly just trying to work around stuff or band-aiding or taking stabs in the dark of, is this going to fix the situation or not? And I think we finally got to a point where we're getting ahead of all that stuff. And I've been able to work on the car pretty nonstop the past about a month and a half now. So I've been able to really pick apart all the little things that have been holding us back to get the car to where it needs to be. The brakes are now confidence inspiring for Dewey, where like we set a lap record at Road America last year, but I can tell you, and maybe Dewey won't, but I'm sure he had to pump the brakes to get enough pressure to slow down.
I was pumping, I was double tapping the brakes just out of, because I'm going so fast. I wanted to make sure they're there. And I believe that is the only reason I was stopping.
Yeah. There was some serious issue with the brakes and the ABS module, not just things just were 95% the way there, and now we're getting the dial in the last 5%. These new EBC calipers, this Apollo kit, Dewey can tell you just from the performance of it. He came in after first session. It was just like the brakes work amazing. Power steering works amazing. And, sometimes he gets out of the car and I have to grab him and be like, tell me what the car did. How is it going? What doesn't work? What works? Because he's just so, holy crap, I just went so fast. I don't even know what to do with myself. So it's like grabbing Dewey and being like, yo, tell me how the car is. How are the brakes? How's the steering? Did you experience any understeer, oversteer? Like, how's the rear end? And kind of break down that system so I know what I need to look at on the car in between rounds or at the end of the day. And to just get that information out of him. And I think for the first time in a long time, he's been able to get out of the car and be like, no, everything's great except for this one little thing. And it's like, oh, well, we can deal with that one little thing versus him getting out of the car and being like, well, the brakes don't work, power steering cuts out, don't know what's going on with this. I broke the transmission. Like everything was just kind of good.
It was refreshing. Like the other thing we did get sorted again is power steering. We'll kind of talk about, I want to talk to these people a little closer before I start shooting. I'm just going to let you know, we got this thing off of eBay and it's a rebuilt thing from Poland. So I want to learn more about the company before I start telling everybody this is the answer. And then, shooting it all over the internet that this is the answer. But it's essentially a rebuilt Porsche Cup, a pump from this place in Poland. We got it off of eBay. We got it from a recommendation from a buddy of Sam's that dialed in, and it works mint. It is so good, but it's a rebuild thing from Poland. I don't know how long this is going to last. We want to have a spare with us, and I want to talk to them and just kind of get a vibe for what this is. And if it's the only way you can sell it, then I'll tell everybody where to get it. And it's more just it's the easy button to sell it on eBay for them. But if this is some sketchy eBay thing, I have a hard time like getting people excited about it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
there's probably good ones out there. Like if it's just some small shop, I could totally see them not wanting to build their own website.
Oh, totally. And it's what I want to get the vibe of. What I don't want to hear is like, we get these out of fire cars or something crazy, or like actually they're just some like, I'm worried it's like some weird like Amazon China knockoff version of that. You know what I mean? And like I'm just waiting for this. I want to talk to.
Okay. As long as it didn't fall off the back of a truck and it's not like copyright infringement,
like I just want to know the story. That's what we're running right now. And if somebody's really interested, hit me up and I'll send you the same link, but I'm not going to like advertise this is the answer yet. But what I can say is it's really good. It's really good.
Something about this pump that's really great is that it does speed up. It varies speed based off a load on its own. So it's not like we have to have a speed controller or anything like we did with the Volvo pump. As load increases, the speed of the pump should increase. And I mean, Dewey, you came out of one of the cars with like, or one of those sessions was like, dude, as I go faster, it gets better.
It's the steering is so linear. It's never felt this linear. And I still get the feedback I want, but it's crazy linear. And it's something that I got to be real, I've never had from a mechanical pump even. It's really good. It's really good. So either way, we got to finish.
Nice.
We got to finish the story.
Yeah, go
So
for
we're
it. Yeah.
in session 2. I'm going for the second lap. Car's feeling good. Steering's great. Brakes are great. We're not getting hopping. Fortune autos are fantastic over turn 3. I'm just blowing through there, and I'm starting to get a little frisky with the trans because the gearing's starting to make more sense. So I'm putting something together. This honestly is the first lap that I said, okay, I'm gonna actually try to push. And I got 6 right. I came out of 7 decent. Everything was feeling good. I'm burning down the straight. Everything is feeling sick. And then way up ahead, I see my boy Ryan, who's currently leading. Something goofy happened with his brakes, and he ended up locking up a rear tire, and he goes off at 10A. Okay. Now, I'm not trying to say anything cross about Ryan. This is just what happened. Okay. I'm buried in the green, so I'm beyond excited because I'm like, okay, we're gonna stick ourselves in the first, and this is gonna be what it is. And through all this, understand the car still feels lazy. All right, but I'm doing my job on my end to try to put together the best lap I can with what I have. So he goes off at 10A, and I'm coming into 10A behind him a ways, and he was at kind of a goofy angle, and I don't think he saw me. And I think in his brain, he was going, I need to get to the pits because I went off. I got to go report. So he ends up, we're not on the inside pit this weekend. That is where Formula Drift is. We're on the outside pit. So he has to cross the track to get to the pits. Okay. So he ends up crossing the track and ends up right on the hotline as I'm coming through. And I basically have to throw the lap away. And I'm not going to lie, I was really fucking bummed because I will stand on it right now that we had an easy 28 going there. But that was kind of where we were at. I was mad about it at the time, like really fuming about it. And I was even more fuming about it when I got out of the car and started looking at the weather and, the situation. But, either way, I think we had a high 28 there, and unfortunately, we had to throw it away in the second to the last corner. So I ended up trying to run another lap, and unfortunately, there just wasn't enough time left in the session to get it done. Okay. Again, got to play around with a little more, though, and still learning the gearing and whatever. Came in, Dylan got some tire pressures, and we were getting these tires more dialed in. Everything, we're getting faster every time. Afternoon session, it was hot. Like, sun finally came out.
It was not only hot, but it was humid.
Yes.
It was 92% humidity.
Okay.
Oh boy.
It was slathy as shit. And we go out, and honestly, this is after some drifters that already went out, and the track was shit. Okay. The only person who really went faster that I know of was Alan Patton, and that's because he just finally completed a lap with that fucking bottle rocket of a Corvette of his in track mod. Everybody else, the fastest thing they were going to run was already ran. It was done. Okay. So
yeah, we even turned up the boost to PSI and didn't really go any faster. It was just that hot out. It was super hot. Super humid. You could cut the humidity with a knife.
It is balls stuck to your leg gross out.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So either way, balls are definitely stuck to your leg.
Was going to be the answer.
We lost you for a whole heap of stuff there, Dylan.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Say that again.
Morning session, That's the glory run.
Well, it is, but we were hoping because it wasn't that it was that much cooler earlier, but the sun came out and the drifters really destroyed shit. And then the heat did go up, but like it was like the humidity went way up.
It did. It went skyrocketing.
So we went out and unfortunately really didn't, the session wasn't there. Okay. And the problem we were having, we even added 2 PSI. So we went to our, mild map. So we went out and like the car really didn't feel much better, but mostly due to the heat. What we did see in the ECU is we did get that extra 2 PSI. Come to find out, we'd been running all weekend, like pretty low on boost, and we really didn't. It took a while for us to figure out why. At first, we thought there was like a boost leak. I don't know if you want to talk about this, Dylan, because this is definitely your wheelhouse with all that.
Yeah, Howard, can you guys hear me a little bit better now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so Graham and I were kind of looking at data afterwards, and Graham's like, hey, from what I'm seeing a boost leak. But it was kind of weird because, and I might lose a lot of people here, but I'll break it down Barney style as best I can. What we were seeing is target boost, or boost level wasn't actually hitting what we were targeting. Not only that, but exhaust back pressure was higher than what we normally see.
They weren't in an extreme range, just slightly higher.
Yeah, I mean, it was back pressure was up a few PSI and boost was down a few PSI, but turbo wheel speed was the same. So we didn't really think it was, the back pressure being high, we didn't think it was a pre-turbo leak. Because typically if it was leaking pre-turbo, you'd have slower turbine speeds as well as lower back pressure because the exhaust gases are escaping somewhere. But it could be a cold side leak. So, of course, no one, in our paddock or the drift paddock had a smoke machine for us to just kind of plug in and tear up. And I actually have it on the car right now, just double checking everything. But after a while of trying to, Dewey had to go to Home Depot and we had to make script a boost leak tester, and we really didn't find anything. I mean,
2 trips to Home Depot and like $80 to build a boost leak tester.
Yeah, we didn't really find anything, like maybe a small thing here or there, but that was after me spitting like 60 PSI, 70 PSI of compressed air at it.
Yeah.
So we weren't finding anything crazy. It's hard to tell. We're using a spray bottle with some soapy water in it, just spraying everything down. And so I, kind of scratched my head. Well, when we tuned the car pre-CMP, it was kind of cold out still here in Maryland. And if anybody's familiar with drag racing and why they do it at Maryland for World Cup finals, is because the DA value is so low. So I was recalling that we had tuned it at like almost negative 2,500 feet, somewhere in between the negative 2,000, negative 2,500 feet. So that means we're going to make a lot of power for the air that we're using, and things are going to kind of be where we want them.
They're going to be freakishly efficient.
I pulled out my phone and I go, I wonder. I have an app on my phone, and what it does is it just locates the nearest airport based off my GPS location. It tells me I'm getting the information, the same stuff pilots would see. And so Atlanta, it was like 2,600 plus positive feet. So there was almost 5,000 foot DA foot swing. So that's something that I had never seen or dealt with before. And my theory was that we're now fighting that. So whether that was the issue or not, we're not 1,000% sure with this stuff. I like to be 1,000% sure and not 99% sure. I am currently boost leak testing the car with a smoke machine and kind of going over everything and getting it ready for Midwest Fest. We'll probably toss it back on the dyno to make sure everything's healthy. I'm going to do a health check on the engine just to see where we're at, etc. Normal pre-race stuff and middle of season kind of stuff. But we were just going to command more boost. Graham had sent me a new log or a new revision to upload in the ECU, and when we were putting the car back together, it was like 10 o'clock at night on Friday night. And so we were all looking at the weather going, is it going to rain in the morning? In everybody's weather throughout the day, the rain was pushing back further in the day Saturday. So like when I checked Friday afternoon, it was like 9 a.m. I was like, we're not going to get a session. You know, when I checked Friday evening, it was like 10:30 to 11. I was like, hey, we might get a session. And Jordan, I think you checked it when we were getting closer to go to bed. You know, it was like
I did.
11 o'clock at night. And it had shown rain starting at like noon. And I was like, dude, we're probably going to get a session out of this. So we prepped the car out to go in the morning. I just told Dewey, I was like, hey, man, like, we're going to turn the boost up. We should have, you know, a lot more power. Kind of, I want you to sit down, go over video, kind of go over fire lap, stuff like that. Get a good idea in your head where you want to go. I have a new, you know, a new idea where these tires need to be and how the car is going to perform. I think if, you know, we can get all this stuff together with the new revision and everything, we should be able to lay down a spicy 128 to 127. Is kind of where we're aiming, and that was still without the car being like put on kill mode. So we kind of got the car ready that night, and I think we all just kind of went to bed hoping we'd get a session in the morning. I woke up the next morning. I wanted to get up early. I think I was probably more nervous about everything the next morning. When we got to Atlanta, I told Dewey, I was like, listen, I don't really care about winning. I just want to drive the car back on the trailer. We got to get all the data we can. With the sequential, etc. Let's just take it like that instead of chasing something to win something. And then when we were so close on that predictive lap time to Ryan, when every kind of thing kind of went down. So I woke up at 6 a.m. the next morning on Saturday morning, and my alarm went off. I opened my eyes, and I could hear the rain already hitting the camper.
That's what woke me up. The rain woke me up, and I'm like, motherfucker. Because I went to bed not even that mad, because I'm like, dude, tomorrow morning, we're just, we're going to add the boost back in. It's going to be fine. We're going to blow down the straight. We're going to knock this thing out. Okay. Like, we were down enough to where we probably were down on the low end 5 mile an hour on the straight. Okay. There's a very good chance we could have picked up nearly 10. With me getting on a 7 better and the power we were going to add in, like, it was going to be a night and day thing. Yeah, the rain, I woke up to the rain. I was so mad because I went to bed thinking we're at least going to get a session. Oh, I was pissed. And the rain just didn't stop.
Nope, did not.
That was all day.
Yeah.
We were not willing to risk Boogie in that, because we weren't going to run any faster, and this wasn't a podium sprint weekend. There was literally zero incentive to take the car out. It wasn't even like we were going to get on the live cast, you know what I mean? Because they weren't running one. The only cool thing that would have happened is maybe Rob Wilkinson would have taken some cool pictures. Wasn't worth it. Not at all. Park the damn
Sorry,
thing.
Rob.
So,
yep.
Yeah, we just hung around and talked to a bunch of people.
Cal came over and he was like, yo, I'm going to hit Dewey up and see, let's see who can run faster in the rain. And I was like, we're not going out in the rain, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even.
I was the only one in our group or in our paddock that actually went out.
Yeah,
in the morning.
You took Dolly out and ran a bunch of laps. You also did you kiss the wall in the dry or in the rain?
In the dry. So it was even better, right? So it was actually the third session. The third session was even more rushed because I think GLTC or Rush had an accident and they had to like pull 4 cars off. So they're running like really behind. So we only got like 2 or 3 laps. Third session, I was starting to like, oh yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better. I want to really like push a lap. And coming out of the first right-hander in the S's, my foot fell off the throttle and the car was light, and I just didn't think and smashed on the throttle again, and it just threw the car out. Immediately spun it out.
All-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive.
Yep.
Not all-wheel drive. Yep, it was kind of habit. And luckily, I got the car to rotate and slow down enough to not do any major damage. I love tapped one of the tire walls on the inside, and Dolly just had minor fairing scratches, and that's it.
I'm so glad you're calling this car Dolly because
I
it's
mean,
great.
It's Dolly.
I didn't name it. Ray named it, so it's okay because Ray named it.
Ugh.
I mean,
It was
it's okay
it was
if you
kind
name
of
it too.
it's kind of upsetting because after I got off track to self-report that I fell off track, I went to go back out, and that outlap was the end of that session, so I couldn't even get back, on it.
Yeah.
It was damn shame because I'm mad at myself that I didn't push harder in the second session because I just didn't trust myself in a car I've never driven before. That's not even mine.
Well, you went and drove the
So-
next day in the rain, you psychopath.
I did. I did. Road Atlanta is scary already as is. In the wet, it's even scarier because that track doesn't drain. There is
No.
puddles everywhere. No matter how light I got on the throttle coming back out of a corner, the car would slide.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I actually got some decent footage of the wet day. Didn't get any of the dry day, but you could see how wet the track is. And the moment you got back on throttle, the car would kick out.
Yeah, I mean, there were, from what I was hearing in just watching like JLTC in the rain, and what I was hearing from other drivers is there was a lot of standing puddles. So
There
on the
was
straight
a lot.
through the X's, and then kind of I went and stood like at the bottom of the hill by that before you go up the hill to turn 5, and like that whole area was like essentially a creek. And
Yeah.
so
It was extremely wet.
yeah, I mean, so looking back at it, like again, we're not going to send this car out in that.
Fuck no.
It did, obviously racing, you never know what conditions are going to be, and you're at the will of conditions. You could have a perfect weekend, or it could rain all weekend. Unfortunately, for Road Atlanta this year, it rained one of the 2 days that we were racing, and
Now, if it just
unfortunately,
rained the entire
Yeah.
time, it would have been better because everyone would be competing on the same level. Everyone already set their fast laps on the dry day, so what the
Yeah.
hell is the point of going back out on the wet day?
Dude, I tell you what,
Yeah.
we've had Mid-Ohio events that were running in the old time attack format that the very first session, which was always a complete shit show, and this was back before they tried to organize everybody in the first session. It was just kind of like a free-for-all, and when you'd get there, it was really messed up back in the day, I'm not gonna lie. So everybody just show up and go. And it like that was the fastest time of that was the only dry session in the entire weekend. So everybody like you're out there with basically stock cars, the time disparity was insane. It was a complete and absolute shit show. And that was the fastest session of the entire weekend. Then it was rain the entire rest of the weekend. That shit happens. So one of the things that I like about Podium Sprint is it gets rid of that. The nice thing, well, the nice thing about this is we weren't forced to have to go try to run this thing in the rain. Because I got to be real, I really did not want to go run Podium Sprint in this car on Road Atlanta. Like it just, we got it together the right way. And then I'm seeing, who is the guy who's been running a LS in his BRZ for a really long time in GLTC. He's got a sticker on the back that says I identify as a Corvette. Unfortunately, he wadded his car up. The Chase Bays guy.
Jensen?
Yeah, Jensen. Yeah. Jensen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was. It was out of turn 12.
Yeah, right in the nasty
Oh.
spot, coming through 12, smacking the wall. And then the Chase Bays BRZ is annihilated.
well, he came down that hill where I was staying. I watched the whole thing happen. He came down that hill I was staring at, before you go through the slalom to go to turn 5,
yeah,
and it kind of hit that creek of water, and it came out and he spun. I mean, he probably did a full 360 then some, and then just smacked the wall sideways going up the hill. Once he started spinning, I mean, it was so wet out. There was nothing you could do.
yeah. It was Jesus take the wheel at that point. He
Oh,
Yeah.
it's awful.
he hit the wall pretty hard. He was pretty sore. Yeah, Yeah, it hit so hard that you could look through the rear fender well and see inside the car.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's done. And that sucks because that was a really pretty car.
It was.
Yeah. And then yeah, so there's I mean, even the Formula Drift guys, they were smacking walls all over the place too. They were crashing left and right.
Turn 10 for them was a nightmare. Turn 10A, like it ate so many FD cars that weekend.
Yeah, either going into it or coming back out of it. Going into it, there was what that BMW goes in, tries to initiate, and it would not come back around. He just immediately drives into the wall.
Just
Oh my
into the
God.
wall.
Yeah, it was, dude. It was
I
rough.
say that a lot, but this sounds like a bad time.
Yeah, and
So the
every
weekend
time
was
a car
fun.
crashed, we were just like, "I'm so happy we're not taking this car out."
Yeah.
The weekend was
Yeah.
fun, but the second day was really bad.
Yeah.
It was just so bad.
Why was Jeremy Bailey so upset about the weekend?
Oh, that's a good. You know what? We
Oh,
need to
that's
talk about that a little bit. I gotta be real.
Uh,
There was a couple of issues. Issue A, the initial grid order was really messed up. I don't know who wrote the initial grid order, but it was bad. Okay, there was
They had
they had
Alan behind us in his new vet, which I mean he hasn't set a time with Gridlife with it yet, but like I mean, come on. I think everybody knew just looking at the thing that he was gonna
yeah, and he had also
be
they
fast.
just set the
everyone
limited
knew
record
it
at
was
Coda with it, and it was ridiculous. You know what I mean? They just ran what, a 212 at Coda or a 209 or something stupid at Coda.
I think it was a 207.
Okay, a 207 at Coda. They literally kicked the thing off the trailer and damn near ran a 207. The thing was nuts, and Alan has enough experience at Road Atlanta that I couldn't believe they stuck him in front of us or behind us. So like
Yeah,
he was like 3 or 4 behind us, and Jackie and I
Oh.
both told him just go in front of us, dude. Like not even a question.
Good.
Yeah. So at least A was kind of policing themselves, but B wasn't. Okay. Like B and C were not. And it was just a disaster the way they had stuff laid out. And so it started out with a ton of traffic, and then shit turned into a parking lot of cars breaking down all over the place. And then they had the other issue of there were some drivers out there who definitely lied about their eligibility to get a comp license. And it was really bad. There was some incredibly bad driving. Some of those drivers are not coming back. But unfortunately, like the damage was done in day one. And as fast as everything was happening, they couldn't police all the crazy shit. You know, and then the other problem you had was also the corner workers were just now getting accustomed to how Gridlife does time attack. So they were holding the wrong flags at certain points, and they didn't know the difference between a normal yellow and a double yellow and waving yellow and like
from Road Atlanta.
well, we
that's
run it
surprising.
differently than normal time attack. We do like a safety car and stuff like that. You know, we were dealing with a lot higher car count than existed with, you know, the other time attack group. And the other time attack group, it wasn't that big of a deal. You know what I mean? For us, it would destroy us. You know what I mean? So
Especially knowing that we probably only got 3 sessions and everybody was looking at that. So when everyone's going, oh crap, today's the only day I'm gonna have to set a fast time down.
yeah.
I think everyone kind of gets silly and do dumb things. And so not only that, you know, people were blowing through yellow flags, and it was a
times were
mess.
disqualified. A lot of times were disqualified.
It was
Yeah.
oh my god, a ton of times in the second session got qualified because they were all blowing yellows.
Well, and not because it was like an individual yell and someone blew it. It was because their entire session was yellow.
That's
And
true.
so-
The entire session was.
So, you know, they're like, well, if they're just keep waving the yellow flag every time I go around it, you know, these guys were making the executive decision to just blow by it because the dude, you know, whoever may be, the person's off the racing line, they're in a safe area. And so they're like, well, I can get by them, like, no problem. But it doesn't matter. They're still a yellow flag.
Yeah.
And so everyone's knee jerking, having that knee jerk reaction because they know they're only going to get one more session. It's starting to get really freaking hot out, and they're like, "This is going to be our session." And so a lot of times get disqualified because they ran yellow flags, and it was a mess. I think if we would have had another day or two there, things would have been a lot different by the end of the weekend. But unfortunately, with the rain being the next day, and our schedule was so compact, like there was no lunchtime for the flag workers because their lunchtime was in between us and Formula Drift.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah. So like, I'm not mad at them. It's just I'm sure the next day, okay, if we would have ran it properly and it was dry, I think it would have been way better. Okay, it's just so much happened so fast, and there wasn't enough time to even police it. So it was, A kind of did fairly well, but B and C was an absolute shit show. So it was kind of a dice roll, viewer, and it's why the more I reflect on this weekend, like I was pretty pissed off leaving. But the more I reflect on it, the more I'm like, dude, it was just an absolute dice roll. We should be happy we even got second because we could have ended up with a bunch of traffic problems too. Thankfully, A was pretty good about policing themselves and keeping shit in order, but like we were only going to get a couple of good laps if we were only going to get to go on day one. You know what I mean? Really, in reality, we didn't have that bad of a weekend. And the car feels great, and we were 99% sure we know where our power issue was, but the rest of the car is incredible.
Yeah, and it's also at our level of racing, it's not easy to kick the thing off the trailer and run a fast time.
No.
Like we typically get faster through the weekend, if not like through a couple sessions. Like
that's Ryan's
typically
superpower.
Yeah. I typically kick you out of the hot pits and say, hey, low boost, let's take it easy, fill out the car, make sure everything works. Make sure we're not gonna have any issues right away. Like test everything out, see how the track is, and then we'll go from there. In second session, by then I'm like, all right. And then typically we try not to touch the more power button, baby.
Until we absolutely need it. So
that's the last step.
That's the very last thing we want to do is don't touch the go baby go button until we absolutely need it.
Yep. So overall, I think that's a good takeaway. That it was a rough weekend, but second place ain't bad, and you got a lot of things fixed in the car. What's left to do?
Yeah, and there's 2 laps because everything got condensed due to some accidents and rush and GLTC, and so like Jordan was saying, like, hey, our run group session 3 only got like 3 or 4. We got 2.
It was 3 laps in heat 3.
Yeah, we only got 2. So it is what it is.
So now 3 weeks from now, Gingerman Midwest Festival. It's the biggest party in the Time Attack calendar. So I will see you there. I'm going to be there.
Well, speaking of you, and also Dylan, thanks for showing up. We appreciate it. I know you got a lot going.
Thanks, Dylan.
So
keep fighting the fight.
Yep. The car's great because of you. So speaking of you, shifting gears a little bit and off of Time Attack. And we can ask if you guys got any Time Attack questions at the end of this, we can answer. But I need to talk about warranty shit. My guy, you finally got those coilovers. You got a set of our IAG Street Series Fortunato collab coilovers, and you got I don't remember which Apex wheel we got. You got some sick ass Apex wheels, and your car looks so fucking good right now.
Yes, thank you. It's the Apex VS5 RS 18x9. And those wheels are fantastic. I got a lot of compliments on them in one day.
Dude, the car looks so good. So they're a very bright silver off of your red car, and you have gold Brembos on it. Like, the color combination of what's going on there is just chef's kiss. Mwah, beautiful. You even picked a pretty tire.
I did. I got the Yokohama 8009s, so endurance 200 treadwear, and they feel great. It's a 225, so it's a little bit of a stretch onto the 9.
I thought you did a 245.
Why didn't I? Because
no, I thought you did.
Oh no, it was only a 225.
Okay.
So Yokohama approves it for use on a 9-inch wheel. It's a little bit of a stretch, but
Oh,
it's
it
got
looks
great
perfect.
response.
It looks
Tire,
perfect.
tire. What's up?
It looks perfect. It looks so good.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was on the schedule for 6 star. Got it done on Wednesday this past week. So gosh, yesterday. Um, and yeah, I think they were about 3 weeks out when I got on the schedule. So on Sunday of this past weekend, I had a nasty crash on my bicycle. And so I went over the handlebars. I hit the deck pretty hard, bruised my ribs, bruised my wrist. I got some nasty road rash. And yeah, so getting out of bed is painful. And getting out of my car is painful. So I got a chance to drive it for about 30 minutes yesterday, and I really like it, but I can't tell, man, because I'm in pain,
That
especially
sucks.
taking right turns.
That really sucks, man.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, worst time for it to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a little better every day. But here's what I can tell you from just driving it around at 30 minutes. This car is easy button. Everything is easy now between a lot of tire, the springs, the shocks are better. It is just easy. I would have to be breaking the law before I have trouble with traction. So I went around in Huntley, and yeah, it almost feels boring, but I'm very cerebral and I like things that are high end, high quality, even if they're slightly boring. But yeah, it definitely feels like a different car. The last thing I'll say is it's a different feeling car from the BRZ stock and the BRZ TS stock. I'm disappointed that both of those cars don't come with better shocks, because then I wouldn't have to do all of this. But man, between lowering the car and the wheels and the better
How are the
shocks.
coilovers? Because you've got injuries right now. You would feel a shit suspension. How are the coilovers?
So my first feedback is it's a lot of spring for the street. I did drive it on some shitty pavement, and
Yeah.
it kind of throws you around a little bit, but not like your BRZ did, which had some like a full race car setup,
Yeah.
where the car would hop. It just feels like it's got a higher spring rate, which is what I signed up for, so I can't really be mad about that.
But
Um,
also, like, you've yet to even attempt to dial these in. Okay. So
correct.
some of
Yeah.
that might get cured of it. It seems counterintuitive by going up and dampening and it riding better, but it absolutely will because it'll match the spring better. So maybe you throw a little bit more rebound in it. It might feel a little better too.
Yeah, I need you to drive this car to get it that last little like 5%
Sure.
dialed, and it already feels really good. So I've basically been thinking about all the components individually. The wheels themselves look great, and they feel lighter than the stock wheel
I
because they
bet you they
are.
are.
The tires, it's a lot of tire. It's higher grip, which is fine. That makes it a little more boring on the street, but it's a consistent, sharp, nice feeling tire. So happy with both of those so far. The springs, they're higher spring rate, and most of the time it's fine because most of the time the road is fine. So, it gets a little too much over crappy pavement. That's fine. I know what I signed up for. The shocks feel better. Like, it just do not pass go, do not collect $200. These shocks are better than the TS suspension, especially in the rear. The rear is more composed. So I wish Subaru did a better job with the rear suspension in the car, but this is the answer. It's just everything's easy. Everything's great. It does what you want it to do.
So, isn't it great, when you finally just listen to me and do the things I tell you to do and they just work?
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew you'd love
I
it.
wish I had done this a long time ago, but at
What
the
you're
same
going to
time,
really love, my guy, what you're going to really love is we're going to take that car to Tail of the Dragon and you're going to have a spiritual moment with it.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It-
I believe you. We've been friends a long time. That's exactly what's going to happen, and it's going to be amazing.
Yes, as the car sits right now, it doesn't really need anything else. If you want to add an exhaust just so you've got a little bit of growl to it or whatever, by all means, but it doesn't need it. Okay, that car has plenty of oomph as it sits for what you need to do with it. Okay, I desperately want you to go to Tail of the Dragon with that car. It is going to change your life. It's going to be lovely.
Yeah. Yep. So it feels very refined. I'm really happy with, especially with how the shocks feel. They they're better. Like there's no two ways about it.
Yes.
The car is fun is an open-ended word, but when I drove it last night, it feels fun because it's so good.
Yes.
It's just you do it, or you just think I'm going to go around this corner, and it just does it, and there's no
The
fuss.
goal I have with your car is to make a Cayman S. Okay. I that's what I want to do. I want to build something like a Cayman S or a GTS. Okay. It's never going to be a GT4.
Right.
Unless you decide to lose your mind, but you want seats that are, cushy and your radio to work, and, it's not beating your guts up. So, like the closest thing we can build, I literally like a GTS at half the price is the idea. Okay.
Yep.
And I think we're well on our way.
I haven't driven a Cayman, so I don't know like what its
so
street
fucking
manners
good.
are. Okay.
And that's the problem. It's what you wish the BRZ was. Any complaint you have about a BRZ, a Cayman and or a Boxster just does it.
Or a Corvette.
Yeah, oh, not really.
Yeah.
So a Corvette's rowdier. Okay. Now there's things I've had this conversation because there's so many fucking Corvettes at Road Atlanta. But I talked about this a bunch, especially with the what is it? LGR is the group over there that Alan's racing with.
Mhm.
Okay, so I talked about it because I've driven a couple C6 Z06. By far my favorite vet. Okay. And what it feels like is a kind of a plump BRZ with an ass ton of power. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from what and the ceiling is so much higher with a Corvette. Comparing a BRZ to a Cayman is more fair though. The Corvette is you have to be on your toes to drive a Z06. You really don't have to be with a Cayman. You can kind of be a kind of a douche and get away with it. And with a BRZ, you can be a complete moron and get away with it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there, because our BRZ, you can do a bunch of fun stuff, and that thing just kind of sticks.
Yeah, our BRZ, the IAG BRZ, is a very good example of you can really go hard with that and not get it and not kill yourself. You can have all the fun, but you've got to go really fucking hard for it to get dangerous.
Yeah, I could see that. It feels like everything is easy, so it's almost boring. In the skill ceiling, or the car's skill ceiling is so high that I'd really have to be going out of my way for it to be even remotely sketchy. There's less drama, so it's sort of like you're gaining one thing and you're losing another.
Yeah.
With a Z06, if you lay into the gas too hard, you leave a corner and not be really ginger on the throttle, it won't just skate the ass around a little bit. It'll put your ass into a fucking wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for that. So
No,
you do?
I will say that I wasn't a huge fan of the newer BRZ until I drove it on our coilovers and a good set of tires and wheels.
I agree.
Yeah, I could see that, especially the stock non-TS. Totally.
Yeah, and then once we got our BRZ on our suspension with a good 200 tread wear tire, and I think we have the same Apex wheels as you now.
Yep.
It's just the car is so good. It's so good. If it had like 100 more horsepower, it would just be. It's just really good. So I hope you enjoy it. The new BRZs, I think, is slept on more than more than people think.
I think it's the best car on the market personally, especially if you want a driving enjoyment car and not spend a ass load of money.
$1 billion.
I'm not trying to sit here and say that like 100 horsepower wouldn't be fun for, especially you coming from a Corvette, but I got to be real.
Mhm.
I don't really think it needs it.
I don't think it does either. I think that car on track and like through a mountain pass or something is going to be absolutely great.
It's a monster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the suspension geometry and how the car's set up now with the new BRZ is just so good. It's so good. And that's I really hated it when it came out. I was like, man, these things are ugly. I drove
They're
one
wallowy.
brand new. I was like, they're awful. And I've come full circle on them. I actually like if I ever got rid of the vet, I would probably pick up a new BRZ.
So the
Yeah.
nice thing about them too is, don't get me wrong, where that car sits stock is infinitely better than where the old one sat stock NA. But just a couple of bolt-ons, you can add like 30 plus horsepower and you feel it everywhere. And like that all by itself is worth it. Like it is, they respond to very light modification really well. Now, you can't really do much more than that to it, but that's all it really needs. And yeah, it also helps throttle response and everything else, and it makes the car feel a ton more snappy. Highly recommend. What we need to do, Dylan, is we need to stick you in Bailey's car. We got to find one of these tracks we're at that hopefully we get some garbage time. I want you to drive that because it'll really change your concept of, like, I'm not saying it's not fast. Okay, it's not your vet or a Z06, but when you rip all that weight out, it's so stupid how much faster you can clear ground with that car and how much fun it is. Bailey's car is stupid fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever track my vet because I make mid 400 horsepower and mid 400 torque, and like it's car's fast. Like it's a freaking bullet, and I don't have the experience to deal with that on track yet.
Yep.
But I would be down to drive Bailey's car. I know that thing's gonna be a weapon.
Yeah, I need to drive my car urgently for the same reason, which is it is so good right now that the street isn't enough for me to enjoy it all the way.
We need to take it back to Flatfest and compare.
Yeah. That's definitely happening.
Yeah.
So we got a question. How does it compare to the to an S2000? There is a very good reason that lots of S2000 guys are picking these chassis up. Long story short, and people can fight me on this. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love the F20C and the F22C. It's a very good engine. Okay. They're torqueless little bitches. And and from an NA standpoint, you can't get much more out of it. The FA24 kicks the shit out of it, so it's an easier engine to drive. Though I will say, since it doesn't have a 9,000 RPM red line, it gives a little bit of that up. The double wishbone suspension on the Honda is really nice. Don't get me wrong, but it makes that car super twitchy. This is a much easier car to drive extraordinarily fast, and the chassis itself is just flat stiffer. It is. If there's one thing Subaru is extraordinarily good at, it's building a really good chassis. Now, yeah, it's a strut in the front and it's a multi-link in the rear, and there leaves a bit to be desired as far as a geometry standpoint. But when they're set up, there's a reason that so many people are leaving S2Ks because this chassis is much more modern. End discussion. It's so good. It's so good. And that's even going to a first gen chassis. Like if you're just looking at it from a chassis standpoint, you're going to swap it and you're going to gut it and it's going to be a total slut. Buy the first gen and just get an FA24. Okay. You can stick a Link ECU in it and make all that work super easy. And then you get all the advantages of having it standalone. And I can go on for days about that. And it just bolts in. Okay. If you're trying to get a nicer car, get the second gen. End discussion. All that shit's done. And it is so much nicer than an S2000. The interior's nicer. You got all the modern shit. You don't have to worry about getting a hard top for it. It's a ton safer. It's just so much better of a car. And then you also don't have to worry about going to Road America and your damn knuckle breaking.
Yeah. Still crazy to me.
Yeah. So your knuckle breaking is an unacceptable thing. So
So speaking of S2K guys that are picking up BRZs, Dewey's favorite S2K guy, well, second favorite after Mike Kojima, is picking one up.
oh no,
It's
we'll make
yeah.
him my favorite
Jackie Ding.
S2K guy. So if you guys haven't seen Jackie Ding's latest video, guess who just bought a BRZ?
Mhm.
Jacques S. Leding. Jacques Leding, the man himself, has picked up a BRZ finally. And the whole time, the entire time in the in that video, he's just going, I know Dewey is like, he can sense that I am purchasing this car right now. And he's right.
He's like,
I did sense a
the
disturbance in the Ford.
force.
I can tell you right now, and I've said this to people before, you can't take a piss within 10 feet of a Subaru in this country and it have something to do with track use and me not smell it. And I knew it. I was like, what? And I'm telling you, man, I could tell it was happening. But I'm actually really excited to see Jackie's thoughts on it too. Jackie's feedback, honestly, anybody who's been trying to compare it to an S2000 or whatever, Jackie's feedback is going to be really, really informative because I don't think anybody's pushed that chassis as far as Jackie in North America in its stockish form as hard as Jackie has, if that makes sense. You know, a lot of people have done aftermarket everything and crazy aero and whatever, and it changes what an S2K is. Jackie in a very stock-ish S2000 did some really amazing things. And I have a feeling he's going to be able to recreate a lot of that with this car. Is he going to turn it into a time attack car? Doesn't sound like it. What he's really trying to do is he wants to have a car to test things on. If we make this change, what does it change on track? If we make this change, what does it change on track? You know, how much is different amounts of camber, or if we added a sway bar in the, you know, what is it changing? I'm really excited because I think that series could be incredible. So if you're not subscribed to that, definitely hit up Jackie Ding's website. I think might be PhD Racing, his YouTube channel. PhD Racing, Jackie Ding. If you go type in Jackie Ding, it'll come up. And subscribe to that. But go check that out. So how long was Jackie running the S2K? It was a long time, wasn't it? It was a pretty damn long time. Jackie cut his teeth in time attack with the S2K. I think he started running it in 17. And he ran.
But he was still in college.
Yeah, he was like, dude, so young. Jimmy Diggs. And he ran it all the way to 2020. I want to say 20 or 21. He ran it a really long time. So if you guys watch Gears and Gasoline, Ben's S2000, tall Ben in that S2000, that's actually Jackie Ding's old S2000. They repaired it, painted it, and everything. It's incredible. Yep.
So, any last closing words? I think we got through the whole thing.
The only thing we're missing is Iowa passed a pretty badass bill.
Oh yeah.
Iowa passed a bill.
I know nothing about it.
Long story short, basically, if the track predates, you know, the residents around it, the residents cannot come. They have no right to complain about the noise.
That seems totally reasonable.
Yes. If you move near a racetrack, you should know there's going to be noise. You can't complain about the noise. You aren't allowed to do that.
This is a problem at Laguna Seca, which is one of the coolest tracks.
Yeah, it's a problem at every racetrack in this country. Drag race, circle track, road course, you name it. It's a problem that the track somebody builds a track in the middle of nowhere. Okay. Then because people are coming out to that area, some infrastructure starts getting built up. Gas stations, restaurants, things like that. Okay. Because people are at the racetrack and they need shit to do. And then since that starts popping up, people want to live near there because there's things. So they start putting houses in. But then they bitch about the racetrack because of the noise. But the only reason any of that shit exists there is the racetrack.
Exactly. Yep,
So,
I like it. Props to Iowa. I agree with this one.
Yep, it's the first legislation I've ever seen of its type, and that is a state law now. And
Beautiful.
I hope that other states see that and try to follow that, because I think it's great. Greg at
Yep.
Cosmic, all Jackie needs is a grocery cart and he'll figure out how to make it fast. He ain't wrong. But I'm really excited to see how Jackie takes this, because I have a feeling he's going to be very detail data oriented with it, and Jackie is a good enough driver for that really to work. So it should be good.
Yep. Cool.
Other than
That's
that,
everything.
yeah, that's about it, bud. If anybody's got any other questions, spit it right now or forever hold your peace. But dude, I'm really excited about Midwest. And I really think for the first time ever, I've said this before, but I like truly believe it right now. Due to the new tires, due to the sequential, due to everything running right, and any of the small issues sorted, we know the car doesn't hop leaving corners and things like that. I think I have a car capable of going sub 130 at Ginger. I think for the first time we finally have it, and I am very excited to attempt it. Very excited. So
Be exciting to see.
Is Ryan Matthews a threat? Ryan Matthews has always been a threat. This is what people don't seem to get about him. That man is a legend in Optima. Okay. Ryan's already won 2 events. I got to be real. I think Ryan got away with one this time. But that doesn't mean he didn't get it. Okay. So currently he has the 1 record and 2 wins. Yeah, Ryan's sitting in a pretty good spot right now. We're chasing Ryan, not the other way around. And Ryan lost his engine last year at Road America. And I can tell you right now, whatever he's got in there is not the same thing as what came out of it. He might claim it is, but that he's got a spicier engine in it this year. She gets down real well. So Ryan's a little bit quicker, and Ryan is incredible at laying a really good lap time right away. So if we have another situation like we're having now where, he lays a really good lap time and say it rains, we may not be able to catch him, So we got a lot of work ahead of us. Excited for the rest of the season, and I truly think we can pull it off, but this is not going to get handed to us. So, is he in the conversation for sub 130? Yes. I got to be real. I think Ryan has the ability to do it. Especially after seeing how quick he went around CMP, and how fast he got down the straight at Road Atlanta. Like, I think he could be there. Ryan, like I said, Ryan's a legend, and Ryan keeps you honest. He may not have the outright fastest car, but Ryan's going to get everything out of his car every single time he shows up. If Ryan's there, Ryan at a minimum is going to be a podium threat. So, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. So, wish us luck. Other than that, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Guys, thanks for showing up. Warranty, super happy to have you back. Get healed up, and then we need to figure out a time to go tail the dragon. Jordan, please don't wad up Dolly, and I guess we're going to see you at Midwest Fest also.
Yeah, I would say I'm definitely pushing a little harder at Midwest since it's a way safer track.
Shit, you can go gnarly there. So I'm interested to see what you run there. And yeah, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun, and we'll see you guys all next time.